Wow, we are halfway through this 30-day course on this day 15. I am Sophia Worrell, and today we will talk about taking risks. So, thank you so much for staying the journey and agreeing to go on this adventure. We are out of the forest and almost in the clearing. In this course, we have been getting at those pesky roots that label us and chopping down those shrubs, which are buzzwords and phrases that keep us in an ignorant state. And now that we are building on the foundation of reading, writing, journaling, and budgeting, we are actually empowering ourselves and unlocking our God given right to a good life. We are doing for ourselves what is needed to now play the game of life to ensure better odds. The subject of risk means a situation involving exposure to danger. But yet, we take risks every day without giving it great thought. When we leave the safety of our homes each day and venture out among the general public, we are exposing ourselves to danger in some form or fashion. When we take public transport, we hope that the operator will take us to our destination safely and back. Even when we get in our own private vehicles, we have to drive among other motorists and hope that they will pay attention to the road as we should. We take chances on the food that we order and that is well prepared. We depend on our spouses to be faithful and our children to live with integrity. We trust that the schools our children attend are of benefit to them. We want our co-workers or business partners to be fair in their dealings. And of course, we as individuals are placing the same faith in ourselves that when we come up against situations, that we too will do the honorable thing. Those are risks that we cannot avoid because the world is filled with people and events that are beyond our control. But there are times when we take risks that are not self-serving. One of those risks are the behaviors that people who are of African descent engage in without any thought or care, and that is the subject of intimacy. We meet and hook up and have sexual encounters without giving it much thought. There are many reasons why we engage in these empty acts. We have not been taught the principle of being chaste, probably because many children of African descent have been molested as little children, and it interrupts their ability to make proper decisions about their bodies. If we are to heal and to build proper lives, I must address each issue that we face one by one in order to rid ourselves of these behaviors that do not serve us as well. I have been speaking outright about the family unit that consists of the man and woman who must join together in marriage so that they can position their children for success. And today, I must address this terrible problem that is pervasive among us of African descent. It is the absence of the father in the home. When there is no presence of the biological father and the mother brings in strange men who usually tend to have many unresolved issues and have no regard for these youngsters, it sets his children up to be abused and molested and affects their ability to move forward properly because their well-being has been compromised. So let's look at dating and waiting. This happens because women of African descent have not been taught how to screen males. People of African descent do not usually date. Many of the relationships are just hookups or a way to fill the emptiness in their lives. Many of us of African descent are living in the pain of not having a proper family structure And this leads to us falling prey to anyone who gives us any kind of attention. Attention that is badly lacking by not having our father in our lives mainly, and our mother who is more concerned with trying to get put out fires without his help. The males have feminine tendencies from having the mother as the main person in the home, and since the father is not taking on his responsibility, they develop an immense hatred towards him and are indebted to their mom and have this strong devotion to her. They are very forgiving of her not being able to attend to them and blame the father for everything that has gone wrong in their lives. Every effort that she makes is heroic and applauded, even though she's making the same mistake over and over again and getting involved with the same type of man who is only fathering more children with her and not meeting his obligation as man and father. To be fair, the woman of African descent has limited options, as many of these men are also products of the broken home and not having a father to maintain discipline in their lives. Yet, both the young girl and young man seem incapable of stopping this painful cycle. They themselves see the patterns and fall into the same hole time and time again. What transpires in a home is a lot of fussing and complaining rather than resolving the issue. And the outcome is obvious. The kids are confused. They always go towards the route of lashing out instead of joining together as a group and working to stop these problems. Of course, I do not claim to be a psychologist, but this revolving door issue does not take a rocket science to see the madness of it all and to arrive at the same conclusion. This crazy way of living has to be stopped and be totally eradicated from our existence as something that is normal and acceptable. But I am an expert in the sense that I had my own issues when my parents separated, and all I wanted was my father back in the home. When I repeated the same pattern and saw the pain that it caused to my son, I was convinced that there is no substitute for the biological parent in the lives of children. No amount of counsel, therapy, or psychoanalysis, could replace the void that happens when the father is missing in action from the home. My son said it best when he told me that the problem is that we of African descent think that children are plants that just grow up on their own. But I'm here to let you know that that is not true. Unlike an animal that is born and has to get up and fend for itself, God has not designed human beings that way. We are, for the most part, helpless beings that have to be taught and engaged and supported every step of the way. We do not just get up and learn on our own. Someone has to teach us and discipline us and guide us. They have to be there constantly to watch over us and monitor our behavior. Someone must tell us what the rules are and why we must follow them. They must punish us so that we learn and develop principles and morals. We do not just wake up and have a set of values. Someone has to teach us what all of this means and why it is important. They have to show us by example and then catch us when we fall and hold our hands until we can do it ourselves. This takes lots of work and invested time. This kind of intense training on the part of parents is what little humans need in order to become big human beings who will eventually traverse on their own with little input as they have grasped the lessons taught, and all of it will be done in love. We are faltering as a race of people because all of this is lacking. But this is time to step back and think. look around and see that what is happening is not good enough, and resolve to do something tangible about it, not for a time, but forever. I heard an interview by a prominent black man who was at the top of his sport. He told the moderator that black people were not even second class citizens. They were way down on the ladder. And I thought, if that is how he felt, even though he had reached a pinnacle, how else does any other boy or girl of African descent feel about themselves? No wonder young men and young women carry feelings of inferiority complex. There's no one of African descent that has succeeded without still acting like a victim. I felt my heart sink and knew that this was my assignment, to pull us of African descent out of the pit that makes us have to have such low self-worth and cause us to act less than human. Because that is what is happening in every community where people of African descent live. They think that they are victims and act out that victim mentality. There is no pride in oneself and any accomplishments that we make. No, instead, these wicked men and women of African descent who look and say that they are educated keep that kind of storyline in the souls of children who need to be released from those chains. The chains that are not put on us by any other group, your man and your woman. It has been placed on us by wicked people of our own race for reasons I cannot explain. But they are still as selfish as was in the time when they looked away and looked to try to fend for themselves as they do now, and do not care to return to help those in the way that each group need to do for their own. I understand that we did not have a good start in life. When people were freed from slavery, they did not go on and build back the family. They were at a loss and was never able to put the pieces of life back together. But I'm here to resolve that issue. It does not matter whether we have a father in the home or not. We have to let go of that anger that defeats us every time. We have to get rid of the baggage, thinking that everything that happens is another form of injustice aimed at putting us down. No one is out there taking advantage of us. We are not helpless people. We have brains that we need to turn on and not go by our damaged psyche, which we fill with drugs and alcohol. We are labeled and stereotyped because too large a group of us behave the same way, badly. Any label or stereotype can be stopped only when we stop it. We must use common sense. We cannot just enter a relationship and start having sex because we think that there is an attraction or a spark. We cannot goof off in school and drop out and then get angry when people look down on us for not acting civil. When we change the way we are living and live like civil human beings, people will treat us like civil human beings. But we cannot keep acting like animals and tell people to treat us right. We have to stop relying on systems to financially rescue us and get up and work for our own dollar. We must stop having so many sexual encounters and build proper relationships with each other. We can live clean, wholesome lives. Stay the course and make it happen. Why? Because there are too many of us of African descent that are now being stereotyped with those who act barbaric and unintelligent. Their thug-like behavior is not what we want represented of our culture anymore. That is not God's way. That is not the American way. And it is time to build a culture that is peaceful, loving, and kind. Thank you.